Okay, so a couple thoughts. The 2020 survey, parent survey, that some of you took for us back in about the time the COVID-19 started, right at spring break. The information from that is in. Um, the Net Promoter Score, which is really the score I'm most interested in, reads exactly the same as last year. We had a Net Promoter Score of 51. So it's a nationally normed test, so that's good. That means it's reliable. And 51 is a good number. Anything on this particular test above a positive number is a good number. So 51 is not 100, but it's not negative 51 either. So I'd like to see that number move a little bit. Um, so the second thing for me to take from this year's parent survey, and we will report on this in a few weeks. The principals have had it for about 2 weeks, and today the entire leadership team received the document. So we'll take a few leadership meetings here and pick through it a little bit and try to find the areas we think that are still of most concern to our families, and we'll certainly do our best to address those. But the other, what I was saying was the second thing that's important to me is the document just reads better than it read last year. So that's also important to me. So last year, I thought the negative or the not happy or however you'd want to phrase that comments were pretty throughout the book. And this year, there's just not that. That's not in this year's book. So that speaks to a couple of things. That means that folks are recognizing that we have made some changes that they like, and they recognize we're on the journey to being to improving. So for another thought for me on that is I will always push for improvement, even if our net promoter score was in the 80s or in the 70s, which is probably the number I'd be happy with, somewhere in the 70s at some point. There's always times or always areas that we can improve in. So that's where we'll head with those kinds of conversations. It's okay. This is better. It's much better. It reads better. The net promoter score is still strong, but how do we improve? So I'm excited. We'll get started on that pretty quick. And like I said, when we iron out the areas that we think stand out the most, we'll certainly report that to you guys. My notes are on this little sheet of paper, so that's why I'm looking down. I'm not ignoring you guys. I'm not texting over here on my phone. Okay, my notes are in front of me right here. You should have received a distance learning survey from me, probably through Stephanie Mason actually last week. If you've not filled that out, and if it's still open, I'm not sure that it's still open, but if it is still open and you have not filled that out, if you could do that, that would help us. We certainly want to learn from this experience and get your input in a little more formal way. We're also going to survey our 5th through 12th grade, and we're also going to survey our teachers just to see what we did well and what we didn't do so well at. Part of the conversation around that surrounds, and this is probably not quite as relevant for this age group tonight, but certainly for middle school and high school. So should a well-rounded comprehensive education include some distance learning, some online learning? Many private schools around the country have already gone to some format. If you know anybody in college currently, especially at a major university, they'll tell you they do a lot of their classes are online. They turn almost everything in online. My daughter, my oldest one, who graduated in 15, I believe it was 15, from George Mason University, would tell you for 4 years everything she turned in was turned in online. So this has probably pushed us a little bit to think about those kinds of things. And we are doing that. So there's a task force. Well, let me come back to the task force in a minute. The mission statement I reported in the last head of school letter was approved by the board last Thursday night. Very excited about that. That's been an 18-month journey with a lot of input on that. So we'll take that mission statement and we'll work on our vision statement, and we'll work on our values. And then those three together really become the culture of what we want Concord to be or to become. Some of it we're already doing, it's just not formalized. So we'll want to do that. And that won't take us nearly as long. The mission statement's clearly the most important part of that. Most of you probably have heard me speak to this. One reason that took as long as it did is because when John Mark arrived in October of 18, he wanted to rework the First Baptist Concord mission statement. So he asked us to kind of put ours on hold, which makes sense since we're a ministry of the church. We wanted to make sure we were aligned with the church. So we're closely aligned with that now. I'm very excited about that. Also, we're working on it a little bit tonight. I think we're really close. I need a few collegiate proofreaders to read it. You'll get a survey on opening in the fall. So that will be just some ideas like, hey, if this happens, would you be comfortable with A, B, C, or D? If we have an outbreak or a case in one part of the building, can we keep the other part of the building open? So we just want to hear your feedback on those things. Obviously, every school, I mean, there's just no one right now not wrestling with what reopening looks like. I do want to say this. Our plan is to open August 13th on campus, full speed ahead. But we have to have plans in case, one, we have a spike, or two, in case we just any scenario that might happen. There is a lot of information out there right now, as you can imagine. Every school district, every private school, all the agencies, all the people that we read, all the information we read, all have an opinion on it. And one of the smartest people I know who's been in this business, he's really kind of considered one of the kind of grandfathers, of you will, of Christian education. His name is Dr. Bruce Lockerbie. He's a Stony Brook graduate. He went to New York University, and Bruce is clearly approaching 90 now. I was on a webinar with him last week with a lot of really, really smart people. And the very first thing he said was, here's what we all need to know before we start this conversation today. And what we all need to know is none of us have any idea how to go forward. And that's not totally right, but I mean, that's just kind of where we're at, right? We're all just trying to figure out, what does August 13th look like if it's not normal? So we have two task force currently working on that. One of the task force started on Monday, and one started on last Friday. The one that the principals and I are working on, we started our conversations last Friday. The one that has parents, teachers, important staff, and some other local folks, it started Monday. And the goal of both of those task force are to come up with different scenarios. Fortunately for us, the preschool and Kids Connect will open on June the 1st with very, very good guidelines that hopefully we can learn some things from pretty quickly. Social distancing, what does that look like in a school like ours? So this will be on the survey also as well. Questions like, are our parents expecting us to wear masks? Are our parents expecting us to take temperatures once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day? Are our parents expecting to be for us to have visitors in the building? I mean, is it going to be parents only? Athletic events may be parents only to start school. Do we have lunch in a big setting or in classrooms? How do we do chapel? Is that a big setting or is that smaller settings? Kickoff events, all of these things have to be decided, and what's the pecking order that would activate plans if we had some cases. Hopefully the new normal, everybody says we're going to have a new normal, and I think that's probably true. I don't think that's untrue. But what I hope is the new normal is not nearly as radical as some of the things that we're reading and hearing. But it's a good conversation, and we are working on it. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention was this past Saturday, we graduated 36 seniors out on the soccer field. It was a great day. If you've not seen that ceremony, it's about 42 minutes long. And if you have not watched it, I want to encourage you to do. It's online. You can catch it online on our website, and maybe on the church website as well. If you do nothing but go listen to our valedictorian speech, it will do a couple of things, I promise you. It will give you assurance to why you're spending the money you spend at a private school, and it will also make you smile. In my 34 years, without question, one of the top 2 or 3 speeches I've, even with all my college graduations and all that, probably if I added those, one of the top speeches for the timeliness of what he said, and it was just an awesome speech. It was probably 4 or 5 minutes long. Nathan Armour, you'll catch it up pretty quick. So if I could not encourage you enough just to take some time and listen to that speech. It was just an excellent job. Those 36 seniors, and most of this has been in my head of school letter, but one of the things we're reading from our parent survey is we need to communicate the really good things that are happening about Concord Christian School. So this group of seniors, 36 seniors, was accepted into 50 universities, East Coast to West Coast, Texas to Ohio. Now, true to nature, which was very true at my time at CAK, by the way, West Farragut students normally pick a 5-hour radius from Knoxville. So if you just think about the schools that might be within 5 hours of Knoxville, that's where you're going to find a lot of our kids. That's where they chose to go. But the schools that they were accepted to is a very impressive list. It was in my head of school letter a couple of weeks ago. And so what that speaks to is a couple of things, because one of the things I heard a lot my first year here, and I still hear it a little bit, is, hey, we have a new high school. It's a relatively young high school. Is our middle school preparing our kids for high school, and is our high school preparing our kids for college? And I think the answer is without question, yes. I mean, if you look at this group of seniors, and if you look at last year's group of seniors as well, our ACT scores compete with anyone's. The list of colleges they were accepted to competes with about anybody certainly a school our size. And those 36 seniors were awarded $3.2 million of scholarship money. So that's roughly $90,000 a piece. Now, obviously, that's an average. They all didn't get $90,000. But if you do just a simple math, all of our seniors were about $90,000. So, a lot of them are choosing to go to Pellissippi, continue on to UT. And that's really a smart move for a lot of folks, because you're giving away $10,000 a year of free education if you don't do that. So it doesn't have the flair. So you see Pellissippi State College, then you have to go back and see where else they were accepted to and where they plan to go after that. So I think it's a great testimony to our faculty. It's a great testimony to our students as well, and to the job that they're doing in the high school. So I did want to speak to that just a minute. All right, let's see what I did not cover on my quick list. I think I got it all. Laura is my admin assistant. If you see Laura up on your screen somewhere. Laura, did I miss anything that needs to be that I did not cover in the other meetings?
I think you got it all.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Leday for a minute and just let her she can say anything she wants to say when she gets the microphone. You got the microphone, Lee.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you're doing well. It was so good seeing so many of you all yesterday when we did the book return for our elementary kids. It really went well. We had a great plan in place, and we never even had to use it for social distancing. So you timed it out perfectly, so thank you. Also, for those of you who were able to come by and celebrate Mr. Aiken's retirement this afternoon with the drive-through, that was really, really special, and he really appreciated it. Karen and I are busy meeting with teachers this week. We are working towards putting together schedules, making sure we're up to date on curriculum needs, and just really tying up those loose ends so that we can hit the ground running next week with plans for next year. And a lot of you guys, I notice, have kids that are going to be going to middle school. So I'm excited about seeing you, seeing your kids up in middle school. I see a lot of fifth grade parents on this call. So we've got great things planned for middle school. We're also working on that schedule. We listened to parents in the survey about electives. So sixth grade electives are going to look a little bit different, but great. You'll hear a lot more about that. And we're just excited. I think next year's going to be great. I'm going to copy Mr. Snider and say that we are all praying that we'll get to start in August as normal, with everybody on campus and ready to go. And I would encourage you guys to pray with us, because we miss the relationship that you don't get through a computer screen. We really miss that a lot. So we're looking forward to being back on campus and enjoying our time. That's all.
I thought I saw Miss Littleton down there. Karen, you want to add anything?
I'm here.
You want to add anything?
Just that it really was good to see so many of you today, and
Yeah, I agree.
just celebrating Mr. Akins and remembering my daughter in Mr. Akins' class. He's still one of her favorite teachers, but thank you guys for making that special and for just making this whole distance learning thing work so well. Thank you guys.
Yeah, I agree. I normally Amanda Baldwin has been on our earlier calls, so she's not on here tonight, but I do want to just sing her praise a minute. And if, for those of you who were with me last night, just bear with me for a minute and a half here. But our distance learning would not have happened without Amanda Baldwin. There's just no question about that. She, on March 1st, when we had a pretty good idea that something was happening and that we didn't quite know where it was headed, she and I met for just a few minutes. And I told her I thought we were going to have some disruption in school, but I had no idea what that meant at the time. But I thought we needed to be prepared to do some online learning. I think the term distance learning has come, is probably better describes it. But at that time, online learning. And she just worked tirelessly to make sure what we did the last 8 weeks happened. So we're going to do our best to figure out a way to show our appreciation to Amanda for sure. And, she just made it work. Our faculty, they did a great job, and our families that had to step in there, especially with the little ones, and probably be a little more involved. I mean, everybody has just pulled together. There's no question about that. Everybody has just pulled together to make this work. I think the process worked as good as it could have been.
Yes.
Or as good as it could have for where we're at when we started. But we
Yes.
all understand if we had to do this again, it needs to look differently. So that's part of what we're doing, right? That's part of what we're planning to do. And I know, so, we're going to do our best. From every approach to, hey, we're coming back to school and we're not changing much, to, hey, we're coming back to school and it's going to look a lot different. My hope is we land in the middle. We come back to school and we take the necessary precautions, whatever that is, whatever we decide. And I really honestly believe that Kids Connect and preschool being open are going to give us some insight into what just makes sense. Now, I'll tell you, they are going to take temperatures on the way in the building. That's part of but that's partly because they have to, with their CDC guidelines for preschools and aftercare to be open. One of their guidelines is they have to take temperatures. And I haven't absolutely poured through all of the CDC information, but that's what that committee's for. It may be in there. It may be in there that we have to take temperatures. I don't think it is, but it could be. So part of it's going to be some of the things they make us do as well. But I agree, the balance is going to be just to not make it feel like a prison. Well, so the good thing is, so let me speak to that a little bit. So we're full. Second grade through eighth grade, we're basically full. Could take a few in first grade, take a few in kindergarten. Always can take a few in high school because high school just schedules out so much differently. You can always take a few students here. So our numbers are still really strong. We probably have more families who are going to need a little help this year. And so we're preparing to do that to help the families that need a little more help. But in general, our numbers are really strong. And thank you. Laura just told me I have 4 minutes until my next Zoom meeting. So in general, the families are ready to come back. So that's what we're going to try to do. You guys have a great summer. We miss your kids. We're excited about them being here on August 13th. Try to put a plan forward that makes sense. We'll get that out on our website probably mid to late June. So have a great summer, guys.